So we're sitting here in Swindon, Dan, with Polly, your old friend from school. Could you ever dream about this, that you're sitting here with one of your vocalists?
No, never. Never in a million years. If someone would have told me at school that, what was school? 10 years ago? 15 years ago now,
yeah,
right?
We're getting old.
We left school 15 years ago. So if someone had said to me that in 15 years' time, you'd be making music, doing DJ gigs in different countries, working on tracks with Polly, I'd have been like, no.
It's so
There's
random.
more chance of winning the lottery 10 times than that happening, you know, like in a row. And it's like, no. So yeah, it's very strange how
it's weird how life works out.
Progresses.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. Music was my least enjoyable subject at school, and I regret that so much. I wish I was more engaged in music at an earlier age. But going to Ibiza, listening to trance in 2004 was what changed me, really. I was connected to electronic music. I remember listening to sort of stuff in like 99, 2000. You were going to festivals then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm jealous. She was there when it was all like kicking off, and everyone was, you know, peaking in the UK with the trance scene. And I was listening to tracks on my CD player, doing my paper round, and I could always connect to electronic music. And there's something about that sound that I really get and understand and appreciate. But it wasn't until once Ibiza changed me and Jules had the initiative to start producing rather than just being DJs in a bedroom kind of dynamic. And then one thing led to another, and I was like, we needed a vocalist. And I was
how did Polly came up in your minds when you needed a vocalist?
Yeah, so it was like, I remember when we left school, you did a concert, and you did this like, you sung like, it was like an opera kind of style thing. Do you remember? Do you remember what I'm talking about? Yeah? Okay. So I'm not just mad or I dreamt it. But I always remember sitting there with my mum and my gran, and they were like, she's got an amazing voice. And I was like, yeah, she has. And the thing is that I'd heard you sing before, but not in that kind of like dynamic. I was like, that's really impressive. So it all stuck in my mind that this girl I knew and hadn't spoke to for a long time had an incredible voice. And so that's why I reached out, because I didn't really know anywhere else to sort of go at that stage. You know, it's like all the singers that you're hearing in tracks, you know, Justine Suissa and all these, you know, really talented vocalists, and you're nowhere in the industry, just starting out. It's like, well, they're never going to work with you, you know, unless you've built something. So it was a case of,
what singers do I know? I remember there was a singer at school who sang in assembly.
How did you word that then? How did I
word it?
Yeah, how did you...
I messaged you on Facebook or something?
Yeah.
I think it was just like, hey, myself and my friend have just started sort of making trance music, and I think at that point we'd had like one of our tracks played on A State of Trance, like just one play on a radio show. Like it wasn't even the original mix, it was like the Activa remix of Arctic Moment. And I was like, we've had one of our tracks played by one of the world's big DJs on his radio show, you know, would you be interested in sort of working with us kind of on something new? And just went from there. I think we met for a coffee, didn't we, in Starbucks?
Yeah. And I literally just thought, well, okay, that's random. Dan from school's got in touch. Yeah. Dan's doing music. What? And then, you know, didn't have anything better to do that day, so might as well go and do some singing with Dan, and didn't really kind of think much
neither of us
of it. Yeah. And then, hey presto, all these years later.
No, I think it was very surreal that year to see a track that was made in a living room, which it was, wasn't it? It was like Jules was living over.
Well, the early tracks that we did together, because we were trying to deaden out any outside sounds, they sort of put like
because we were just doing all this stuff
like duvets over the top of me.
Like you'd normally have a professional sound studio, so we literally got, Jules had these like huge like sort of what were they, like these like boards or something, and we'd like squared them off and then put there, and there was just a tiny gap for the cable to come out for the microphone, threw like duvets over it, and then just got her to sing.
That's how you were singing for Aztec.
Yeah, that's how.
Yeah, so it was like that's just a strange dynamic. So it all started from there, and then when
I think more vocals should be recorded like that, personally.
It did turn out good.
Yeah, you know, more duvets.
We recorded a few like that, like the duvet sound booth. I think this year, now that we're getting a professional studio, it's, you know, but maybe for old time's sake, we'll have to just like make that happen again. But no, I think it was very surreal that year because we were just in that environment, making tracks in that sort of bedroom, living room area with duvets as thing. It was just like something so kind of not amateur, but sort of very sincere, trying our best with what we had, equipment-wise. And when Armin emailed, and I saw some email exchanges between him and Fadi, because Fadi signed the track to Future Sound of Egypt, and it was like when Armin was going back and forth about how much he loved the track, and then he started playing it in his sets, and I think him and Fadi did an arrangement where Armin would play the original mix and Fadi would do a remix, and that was how that was all sort of squared away with each other, because Armin really wanted it, and I'd already promised it to Fadi, and it was a weird dynamic, because obviously you'd want your track to go to Armin naturally, but I'd made a promise to a friend at the time. So how things transpired was Armin's like playing it in every set, and it was like, wow, this is something surreal. It's like I was watching these videos appear on YouTube of him playing in Argentina or in Chile, or then in America, and then I went to a state of trance. 450, no wait, 400. 350, 400, 350. I can't remember. I think it was 350. It's 350 or 400, whichever one it was, in Holland, and he was playing. No, sorry. Okay, you can edit that out anyway. But yeah, no, I went to Trance Energy, and it was Armin was playing Trance Energy, and halfway through a set he just dropped it, and I was just like. And I got goosebumps now thinking of that moment when you're stood in a crowd of 15,000 people and a track that you've made gets played by the world's biggest DJ, and it was just surreal, you know, just really, really surreal. And then he carried on playing it in every set, and I saw him in Ibiza in Amnesia, and I spoke with him for 10 minutes before his set, and he literally told me that from the moment he received that track, he'd played it in every single set that year. Up to that point, and that was like a 6 or 7 month period, and that was so hard to get your head around, because this is a guy who's getting 300, 400, 500 plus promos a week, and yet he's playing that track. And I'd seen Armin play for 5-6 years before that, and I can't remember a time apart from one of his own tracks where he was playing something for that long in every set, religiously, and it was just so surreal to just be like. Yeah, we did that. Like we went to school together, and we just made something that had such an impact, and still hard to kind of quantify it now with sort of. Yeah,
I think we're very grateful to Armin.
Yeah, really,
and I'm very grateful to you. There's a lot of love.
I know, it always has been. Yeah.
And then everything has evolved because you've done several tracks after Aztec as well.
How many have we done now? 7?
Something like that, yeah. So
we did Aztec, and then we did Atlantis straight after, which was again like this sort of ad-lib vibe that worked in Aztec. So it was like, okay, let's do that again.
Similar.
And then we did the collab with John O'Callaghan called Raya, which was again like an Aztec sort of vibe. And then Jules wrote the vocals for the Inside.
Yeah.
And it was originally going to be a male vocal track, but I felt like it would be better if Polly sung it to turn into a female vocal track. So then that's how the Inside ended up. It was male, then went to Polly being on a female. And then we did Temple of Artemis, which was with Luke Bond. Well, we co-wrote it with Luke Bond, and then he changed his kind of style, and apparently some management advice or something was like, don't release like a 140 track because we want you to go sort of this way. So we ended up putting that out on our own name, but that was done originally as a collab. And then we did It Turns For You.
Yeah.
And we did In Your Mind. And then we've got the brand new one that you've wrote, which I think is the best that you've done by a long way.
Tell me a bit more about that, because we listened to it yesterday, and it's a fantastic, really, really chilling, mesmerizing track. Tell us a bit more about that.
We had a catch up last week.
Yeah, we had a coffee.
And sort of felt like we needed to do something again, because when we do things together, they seem to be really, really, really received well, and they stand out in our sets. And I love working with you, and so does Jules. So we have a really special thing going with our music, but it always feels like, due to your work, our work, schedules, commitments, travelling, different projects, we never really get enough time to work on stuff together.
There'll be pockets of time where we'll do quite a bit, and then it'll kind of die off for a little while, and then we'll get sort of creative again. So you were saying, it'd be good to do something, and I thought, it would be good to do something. I miss it.
I remember walking down the road like 6 o'clock at night, having seen Polly at like 2 o'clock, and I got this email from her, and it's like this track attached to it and these lyrics. I'm reading the lyrics and I'm like, oh, that's interesting lyrics. And then I sort of put the headphones on and I just went, oh my God. And I know when Jules wrote Lost on My Tears, I had this, when I heard it for the first time, and that vocal, and I just had this connection where it was like, wow, that's something more that I feel than normal with stuff. And I had that feeling with that track, Destiny.
Yeah.
Really, really powerful. And I know with something, if I really connect to it, if I can't stop listening to it on repeat. I was saying to you about the Crush remix when I left the studio, it was on repeat, and that was what it was. And I mean, we sat there yesterday listening to it for like, half an hour, just talking, and it was just 2 minutes of your vocal just playing and just...
But you do get like an instant kind of feel for things, don't you? It's interesting in the studio working with Dan and Jules together, because Jules is he plays lots of instruments and he sings and all the rest of it, whereas Dan's just got this great ears and vibe and energy for it. And Dan, so
satellite dishes.
You get a vibe that's always worth kind of like we trust your gut, because your gut is generally right.
It seems to work. I don't know why. Maybe it's like the obsession with so many amazing trance tracks over the years and playing them and so long, but we've always kind of worked in a way where Jules will come up with something and I'll just instantly know whether it's going to be able to apply for for our sound. Sometimes
it's great watching them work together. You really compliment.
I think with all the sort of intricate sounds and acids and effects and basses and really spending a lot of time on that, and Jules would rather just focus on writing the melody, writing the chords, as opposed to spending a lot of time with stuff that gets our track to that real sort of level where it's at. We could release a track with what Jules has done, what I've done together, but with that extra day or day and a half, really making it atmospheric and spending a lot of time, it brings it to life a lot more with sort of futuristic sort of sounds. But I just wanted to touch on something else. Obviously, I think for me it's been the most frustrating thing about this relationship, and one that we've been really lucky with Polly about, is that really the financial side of things. And we all do it for the love, but obviously with the platform coming up this year, it's like that's my way of being able to try and engage us more back in the studio together, working on stuff, because I think it's really hard for a vocalist to just make any kind of money from this industry. And most of them do it for the love, but I still feel like there should be more return somewhere for a vocalist. And I know you're mixed on your views there.
So you do music for the love of it, and music is all I do. It's my soul. But sorry, your microphone. It's my soul. But the way that the industry works these days, and not just trance, means that you write and you record things, and you kind of don't even really associate it with money anymore. And if any money comes in, it's just a nice surprise.
That's a bonus, I guess.
Which it's a sad sort of state of the music industry as it is. But I suppose it's the way that it is, and
it's going to change.
Well, I always think of it that I'm not driven by money. I never have been. And as long as I've got clothes and home and food and glass of wine here and there, then I'm quite happy.
That makes a huge difference for us, because it's like, you know, if you write a track with someone and you get all these artists playing it, but at the end of the day, the bottom line is a couple of dollars essentially, which is what it really is. When you break it all down, you know. But
I always think of it, you know, even if no money comes in, I've got some really cool stuff to show my grandchildren. I can say, look how cool your granny was once. That's me. And that's really worth something. And just the fact that I get more work now from what I've done, you know, it makes it all worth it. But yeah, money's handy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But you have some really interesting ideas for this brand new track.
I think it's going to be interesting, and I'm not quite sure. I think normally with ideas I end up going with them, so it's kind of, I think we'll probably go with this one. But it's like, what I'd like to do is, normally when we get a remix done of our track, we normally send over, so we've already made the original and it's already been, you know, the melody's written, and we send over the melody and the parts and you know, and someone can just remix it from there. But I'm really curious as to what would happen if we just sent what we've got to work off of ourselves to a couple of other artists, and it become like a joint project where it's our original, but it's like maybe you could word it being like, you know, for instance, if we had the Noble Six do a remix, so we love his stuff, it would be like maybe something like Noble Six version as opposed to remix, or maybe like Noble Six vision, and that's his vision of the track, right? Because he would do the same as us and just work around the vocal. So he might write a completely different melody to what we would write, and I think it's kind of be interesting to experiment with something like that, and it not just be here's the vocal, here's the melody, here's this, here's that, and then just go and do a little bit of a different spin. I'm really curious to see the results.
When he gets a bee in his bonnet, when he gets an idea, you might have noticed, and that's it. I think I might start a charity. I think I might revolutionise the way that people pay for music. I think I might just be some sort of DJ. You know,
what it
unstoppable.
Fake it till you make it, or something like that. Sort of attitude. No, I mean, I just feel like it doesn't always have to be the same way. Right? The beauty of music is you can be so creative with it. So just trying to be a bit more creative with how you run the music or how things operate, for me is kind of a cool way of doing things.
I mean, the idea that if you don't like something, change it. That is him. That if there was a picture, a photograph that you could put next to that saying, it should be Dan's face.
So like sort of slightly non-conformist at times, but in a good way, I think.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, you know, like I said to you last week when we spoke about things, and like I've said to everyone about this platform, I think I really believe it can change the game. It can just do something so special and needed in our industry. And it comes at a perfect time, I think, really, and it's exciting.
It keeps you out of trouble?
Yes, it does. It does. Yeah. But it's been incredible working with you, and I think we've only, like Jules and I say to each other with our relationship, because what we're doing right now is scratching the surface. What we're capable of when we're all firing on all cylinders.
You guys are so talented.
It's scary, like, it is scary when I think to ourselves that, you know, we've had all this amazing support from Armin, you know, Brian, Ali and Fila, John O'Callaghan, all those artists that have constantly been coming to us, asking us for new material or asking us for exclusives, or, you know, all those sort of dynamics happen. And I think to myself, geez, like, we're not even starting yet with this whole thing. And that, like, puts so much, like, fire in me. And I think so many, I mean, it's an interesting one. So many people have come up to us at shows and been like, you guys remind us of Above and Beyond. You're like the closest thing we think of when we think like the old Above and Beyond sort of sound, made at that 140 tempo, 138 tempo, whatever kind of thing. But that's what people are saying to us. And obviously I've always been so good friends with Jono for a long time, and I've sort of fed that back to him and said this is kind of strange when so many people are sort of comparing us. But really, they're our inspirations. They really are. They are the biggest inspiration we have in this industry, and the way they do things so professional. And I would love to have a dynamic, or it's kind of already sort of there. We've worked with you so much with so many tracks. It's kind of like that Ocean Lab feeling that I think we have with Polly, where we would like to carry on doing so many more tracks together. And obviously Ocean Lab wrote so much stuff together, working just with Justine Sweeser. So
but you guys can do, you know, they work with other people, and you know they're very welcome to. I'm not.
Yeah.
And get off my Neptune project. You know, yeah, we're friends, and it's nice to work together, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, with Jules, if Jules was in a situation where he could just do Neptune project full time, the beast would be unstoppable.
Yeah, it would be unleashed, right?
Yeah, you
that's
know.
That's why.
But it's tricky. It's that thing to do with finance again. You know, he's got 2 lovely little children, and a wife that, well, not a wife, they're not married yet, are they? But practically a wife that needs keeping in nice shoes and handbags.
No, she's not materialistic
no, she's
at all.
not.
Actually, she's really
lovely.
No, she's really lovely, and they're perfect. They're perfect together.
Yeah.
But I know he wants to do music so much, and he's always been that way. You know, his dad was very musical. He's so talented, and like I think this year with the platform and things changing a lot. That was where it came from with me. You know, that desire to, what can I do to get Jules more aligned with Neptune Project more, so we can make more music to give back to our, you know, fans and supporters and people that love our music more. So it's just sort of making that whole thing happen, and working with you more, which is what we love so much.
Ah, shucks.